Gospel according to Luke, the 13th chapter. At that time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said, "You had better get away from here. Herod wants to kill you." Jesus said to them, "Go tell that fox, I am going to force out demons and heal people today and tomorrow, and 3 days later I'll be through. But I am going on my way today and tomorrow and the next day. After all, Jerusalem is the place where prophets are killed. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, your people have killed the prophets and have stoned the messengers who were sent to you. I have often wanted to gather your people as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you wouldn't let me. Now your temple will be deserted. You won't see me again until the time when you say, 'Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
You may be seated. So today we continue on the second week of Lent, this time of perhaps turning back to the Lord, turning away from things that we often do in our lives, of seeking Him again in a new, fresh way, maybe of beginning to do some things we haven't done in a while. And this time of sacrifice, as we just, again, seek God, look for His forgiveness, try to turn from all the things that we engage in life and turn back to Him. Today we see a lot of different things in both of the readings from Philippians and the Gospel. But I think one of the common themes that we see the most of is this idea of modeling and parenting. How many of you guys are parents? Near all of you. All right. What kind of things would you do for your children? Or maybe I should say, what kind of things wouldn't you do for your children? Because you probably do a lot.
Teach them good values.
Teach them good values? Okay.
Don't fail.
Oh, yeah. My mother said she doesn't bail, so. If you get in jail, you might need to learn your lesson. So there's a limit. Okay. Makes sense. What else would you do or not do for your children? Probably just about anything, huh?
Do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And what happens when they start getting into trouble or they get scared? Don't we have a tendency, we want to just take them under our wings and say, "Come here, let me protect you, let me hold you close, it's okay." When they get hurt, when something happens, what do? They run back to their parents. They cry. They come for comfort. They come for love. And so often we call them close and just say, "It's okay, I'm here. I'm here." I think in that respect, that's what Jesus is saying in the Gospel. He makes this reference to Himself as a mother who just wants to bring Jerusalem and the children of God there under His wing and protect them. But they won't allow it. They're resisting it. I would submit to you that any resistance to God is really futile. If He is at all God, if He really did create this world and everything in it, if He really breathed life into man and woman and every other created thing, if He really is, after all, God, it would do us well to submit to Him and try to get along with His program for living life and join Him in the work that He wants to do in and through us, in our church, in our community, in this world. Because we, after all, are His messengers and His ambassadors and so many things for Him. And that's precisely what Paul is talking about in that third chapter in Philippians. He's saying, don't forget that. Follow my example. Follow the example of the other good teachers you've had, the evangelists, the ones that are going out there and leading to the best of their ability these pure and blameless lives. What does that mean? It means my heart is right with God. It means I don't hold anything back. And being blameless means if someone were to follow in our footsteps, that they wouldn't be caused to stumble in their faith. There's a little bit of harshness in this season of Lent in some of these readings. And I think it's for a good reason, because we're supposed to be examining ourselves before God, allowing God to, in a way, reveal those things to us that are objectionable. not to judge us for salvation or condemnation. We're already saved if we know Jesus. It's a done deal. We don't have to worry about that anymore once we've accepted Jesus. But what we're looking at is the condition of our heart and how can it be better before God. That's what we're being asked to do. Sometimes, whether we like it or not, we may be the only person that somebody else ever sees or knows that goes to church, that claims to know God and to know Jesus. We might be, all of us, the only copy of the Bible somebody ever gets to read by watching us, how we live our lives. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot to carry. It's too much for us to do. We simply can't do it. We can't be 100% all the time, every day, whether people are watching or not. Sometimes we're even some kind of people around the church and around our friends, and when we're at home, we're a little bit different. God is always watching. God always knows. The greatest thing is that He gave His Son Jesus to die for us because we are imperfect so that we could put on His perfection. Then He was resurrected on the third day, giving us a whole new power never before available to the people of God to be able to live a life that's obedient to Him. To actually be, for the most part, pure and blameless like Paul is talking about. It's a real possibility for us, but it's going to take a little effort and a lot of submission to God. It might only be a small bit of us just saying, "Here I am, God, let's do this thing." It's going to be a lot of God saying, "Here you go. Put on my righteousness. Put on my power. Use my grace. Give out my mercy as the very people of God that I love, that I've called into a relationship with me." And not only that, go out and share it with the world because they need it. They don't know about it. Their God is their desires. Their God is their belly. That's what it talked about. We are so sensual in our society, we have just lost it. Everything we do is about me, me, me. I want to taste good. I want to feel good. I want to do this. It's all about right now. Let's do it. We can sit at our house and order a movie on cable. We don't even have to go to the movie store anymore. We can go to a number of places in town, not even get out of our car and get a hot meal delivered to us. We got things happening right now, all the time in our society. With God, He can do that, but He actually knows us. He knows how corrupt our hearts are, and He knows when we get stuff right now, it's not good for us. Because we come to depend on that instead of God. We start losing our patience and our tolerance and our ability to submit to God, to be quiet, to be patient, and to wait, because we get it right now. Right now. I want it right now. Any of you with little children know sometimes that's how it gets, right? Sugar or something. Yeah, I'm still a big child. Sometimes I do that. I need my tea right now, my coffee. I don't want to wait. We don't do well with patience. And it's tough to even pray for it because then you know you're going to get tested. You know, I think that's the point of this whole thing is that we would just recognize that God is God. You know, and that He wants us to be an example, that we have people like Paul in the Bible that we can learn from their lives, and there's many, many others. We have Jesus' life who we can learn from, but sometimes it seems like He's so far away, like, that's God. It's kind of hard to imagine ourselves doing the things that He did, but sometimes we look at these other people and just how powerful they were, especially the Apostle Paul, going after God's own people for how long? Standing there and consenting and agreeing with those people stoning Stephen to death for his faith because they threatened the status quo? And he goes on to mention the other place. HE double hockey sticks. It's a location. It's a real deal. There's options in life. Thankfully, we're here and we're making efforts to choose God. And I hope that we're doing that every single day, and we're doing it regularly, and we're incorporating it into our life. We have choices in life to make. We have free will. God has set a standard in the Old Testament that has not changed. He confirmed it through His Son Jesus in the New Testament. But He's always had a standard. He's always provided for limits for us because we're just not always good at that. We get a little bit of something and we want more. Pretty soon we're halfway addicted or more. We just want, we want. And our desires just go. But God created those limits because He knows what's best for us and He loves us. And just like any loving parent, there's got to be a limit somewhere. There's got to be a point at which we say, that is enough. You are worth more than this, child. Absolutely. I know a few of you guys, and I know the stories I've heard about your children. I know the life I've lived. I know my mother and the things she went through with me. I know this thing from a few different angles. From seeing a whole generation of youth group kids that we raised up in Chico on fire for God, loving the wilderness, taking these trips. We lost over half the group in the same semester to drugs. Dropped out. At that time in my life, I really understood, I think, what it meant, maybe for the first time. To really to a desire to take children and just want to protect them and bring them in. Because I said, my God, what happened? This is not you. This is not who God says you are. These things are going to consume you. There's going to be consequences. It's stuff that you don't even need to know about at your age. And yet you're pursuing it because of this desire thing. Many of them have come back. They've been through some things, but they're back. They haven't lost things entirely. God still knows them by name. He always will. But there's a choice they have to make each and every day, just like we do. What kind of life are we going to live? What kind of model are we going to be for others? What kind of example are we going to set? What kind of family member, friend are we going to be? Are we going to serve God, or are we going to serve ourselves and our own desires? Let's remember that God made everything. Resisting Him is really futile. Knowing Him and allowing Him to work in our life, it's just a life full of blessings all the way around. Let's pursue that today together. Amen.
Amen.